somewhere else. Anyway. Just the one you just put on the list recently.
Okay. Yeah, hold on one second. I'll make sure I can hear everybody and they can hear us. Can everybody hear us?
It's cute the way you come there.
Mr. Irby, can you hear us? Okay, thank you.
Yes, can hear you.
I'm gonna go,
Okay.
and you can, if you start the meeting, you can mention that I'm going to unlock the door.
Did you close the door again, Patricia?
Sure, close the door. Thank you.
Oh, wow. We gotta do something.
Oh, my goodness. We spoke too soon.
All right.
Somebody put something.
I do. Okay. The time is 6:31. Thursday, June 2nd, 2022. This is the Finance Committee meeting. Our chair is Counselor Carinci Stevenson. Okay,
The meeting is called to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Ms. Bahovi, or Counselor Bahoviak,
Present.
Counselor Stevenson,
Present.
Counselor Gowdy. She's not here yet, but you do have your quorum. You just gotta talk a little bit loud. Actually, you know what? Let me put it like this, because they can see you both and they'll be able to hear you.
Yeah, turn it towards our chair. You can't see the chair.
Okay, bear with us for a moment. There we
go.
go. Let us know if you can hear okay. Thank you.
Okay.
You still have a halo.
So I wanted to begin this meeting with the mid-year budget review for the city departments. And the purpose for that mid-year budget review is to review the department budgets and to determine whether or not there are overage, where the departments need adjustments made to their budget to continue out the balance of the year.
Hold on a second. Hello, hello. Hi,
Hello.
everybody. So you can sit here, she's not here.
Or
She might be
whether,
related. Not here right now.
We're expecting her.
or whether there are shortages in the budget that need to be addressed at this time. However, without the department staff being here and the finance director stating that he had a prior commitment when he was here when the meeting was scheduled, we can't very well determine what the budgets are because we don't have all of the monthly reports and we don't have all of the expense accounting. So hopefully, and that's all I can do is hope that next year we don't get the same audit finding that we've been getting for the past 5 years, because the budgets for the various departments are overspent on an annual basis. And in addition to that, there's this resolution for the land bank that I really don't want in my committee, but I can't seem to get the information that I need to get it out of my. So there you have it.
Can I make comments about the, regarding that resolution? Our memorandum of understanding stated that they would be giving us frequent updates, and we really haven't had any updates in a general sense that I'm aware of. Certainly not this year so far. The other thing is that Mr. Frangos had promised me some information at when they came to give their presentation. And I expect that information to arrive before I have time to, before I have an inclination to vote on this. Thank you.
Clerk, would you just like to read over this?
Resolution, do you want me to read preamble?
Yeah,
Okay. So they're discussing resolution number 4622. It's a resolution granting the Cuyahoga Land Bank $4 million from the city's American Rescue Plan Act funds, or ARPA, pursuant to the partnership established by Resolution 1516 as part of the city's Rebuilding East Cleveland Together program.
the land bank came in, last week at Contracts and Property. They did a presentation for the city, about a tea house that is going to be constructed in the Mickey's building and the build out of the subsequent streets around that area in Ward 2. And that information is attached here, so I'm assuming that it's available to anybody that wants it online. And you can go on there and look at it and see what it entails. It is the revitalization of the Mickey's building and the building of homes on those streets surrounding that building as the first development. Is that true, Mayor King, in the city of East Cleveland?
I'm sorry, what's your question about this?
Is Mickey's the first development in the city of East Cleveland?
No, it is the state development to and prioritization effort.
Are there others? Is there, well, that's the only one I know about. But if there's others, I don't know about them, so I can't speak on it.
Yeah. Definitely relative to being time to forget Salvation Army. So the first battle is in the first.
All right. Are there any questions?
Is there any questions from anybody online? Mr. Irby? Everybody's got their mics on. We got one.
Pertaining to,
To the target area and the proposed use of funds for the old Mickey's building in Ward 2?
what are the bids starting off at, or do we don't know that yet?
We don't have that information yet. What we have is the proposal and the layout of what it's going to look like.
No more questions.
Anybody else online that has any questions?
Okay. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Well, there's a lot one could say as far as questions to be answered, but with Mr. Ehan not present, it makes things difficult.
Okay.
His absence is not acceptable.
Mr. Martin, do you have any questions? Mayor King?
Yes, this is the finance committee meeting. I can address basically any and all finance questions. So we've been at this for quite some time. So we have a new counselor. The information does not change. So it doesn't matter if it's still the same. And question, more than willing to address your concerns.
Does that mean that you're prepared to address Counselor Stevenson's request for a mid-year budget review?
In your budget review, what would be your questions?
Well, there's nobody here, so that I can't answer them. Which departments are having cost issues with maintaining the budget that they were originally appropriated? And why? We sent those questions to you all in a memo. There was 3 questions that we asked that I wanted to know. How do we get out of this situation? And the only way to get out of it is to start to address those issues that the state and the auditors are finding. And this issue of overspending in the departments is an audit fund that has not been addressed probably in 8 years.
Did you read the letter that the auditors sent to Mr. Cupp and Mr. Hoffman at the legislature?
I'm not sure if I can. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm not sure. Is there anything specific to that letter you'd like to have me address? I would be more than willing to address that.
Well, as Councilor Stevenson stated, they mentioned that the administration is spending money that was not appropriated by council. And that is a concern of theirs. And they also stated, and I don't remember the entire thing, but they also stated that they had no expectation that we would be out of fiscal emergency in the near future. So when I was looking at it, I had a list of things that I also sent in some time ago that were from the last oversight review. And there was a list of things that needed to be done. One was to set a maximum for open purchase orders. And since that was something that was of a concern to the Oversight Commission, I would have anticipated that the administration would have, or our representative at least, would have sent us a notice saying, okay, we need legislation adopting a maximum for blanket purchase orders. And here's a legislation we're requesting. And then we could have presumably, I mean, that sounds like something to me that's relatively non-controversial. And I would have thought that that would have been something that we could have done easily with full cooperation between the administration and the council. However, I think that's something that should have come from you through the finance department.
Is that a question? Want to address? More than one to address.
There were a number of questions. Yes, if you would like to address that part of it, that would be an improvement over having the answer to none of them.
Okay, so a lot of stuff here that you talked about. A number of things you said. I wasn't sure of the question. Let me tell you what I think you asked. You asked about all of the audit findings. I want to say there may be at 1.41. One of them was addressing spending per contract or per contract for work. That's your question?
That's the question that I believe Councilor Stevenson had asked. Is that correct? Somebody had asked that question. That was not the question that I just asked. The one that I had been concerned about in my most recent set of questions were the things that are required to get out of fiscal emergency. And since one of them was really easy, why didn't we have a legislation for that? Other concerns in that letter to Mr. Cupp and Mr. Huffman in the legislature from the auditor's office was concerned about the administration spending money that had not been appropriated by council. And that is, to the best of my understanding, and of course, Counselor Stevenson can correct me, but that is one of the reasons I believe that Counselor Stevenson asked for this mid-year budget review, so that we can make sure that we have looked at those issues, and so that we can prevent having money spent that was not appropriated. I don't think that's difficult to understand.
So it's not difficult to understand. You talk there, you talk in 5 or 6 different subjects. I'm not sure where your question is. Let me tell you the question I think you had amongst all your questions and statements. Legislation regarding spending limits with contracts. You said that you thought that that would have been easy to come to council with legislation increasing those spending limits.
I did not ask that
Okay,
question.
you could
You're
do-
asking
you could do me
somebody
a
else's
favor.
question.
One question,
I
and
can,
we'll get it.
I can go better than that. We're gonna stop asking questions. I'm gonna make a statement. I hope
Before you.
you have a
Madam
question.
Chairman, yeah, I'd like to, for the record. For the record, the 3 things that was sent, would you put that on the record so we have it on the record?
I don't have that
Do you
memo.
have, do you have it, Tracy?
I don't have, and I don't have,
We're taking on the computer.
yeah, I
the
don't
line
have a
was-
computer.
Why did they overspend and any of the line items that they had in their budget? Why
Okay,
was it overspent?
that's one.
Right.
Yeah,
And then the other one was it an actual, was your budget,
Was it requested?
request, right, was it a realistic
Or-
budget?
right.
Was there something we could do to help?
That's question 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
there's
then,
one more question.
the other one was, how can we, fix this? Basically, because Counselor Stevenson through her memo stated, council wants to be proactive, not wait until the last minute to do, appropriation amendments. We could do it now during the summer and then move forward. That was the whole purpose. of
And that
memo.
was what Barbara Mattel said, even when it came to the tax
Oh.
budget, that the tax budget needs to be passed in June. And it is supposed to be, it should be in our possession now if it's going to be on the June 7th agenda, which is what we've been told.
Right, it's supposed to do July 23rd. And we said we do have a meeting on July 21st, but if you get it to it sooner, since you know the date.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Mayor King, you have a question or
So-
an answer?
Yes, so. Listening to overspending per line. Right? Who are on the fiscal committee? One of y'all can answer this question. Right, this is just a regular committee meeting, so we can relax a little, right? And really just talk to one another. You should be able to. You should be able to.
Wait,
Because you
wait,
just
wait,
started.
wait,
I'm not
hold
sure.
up. I don't work in a department, so I
But
don't
being
know
on the
what's
fiscal
going on
commission,
in those
you should know.
departments.
We
So
are in
how
fiscal
can I
emergency.
answer a
Let
question?
me say this, and certainly you can tell me if you heard, it, right? Nate, I'm gonna watch your head council president or the not. We are in fiscal emergency
Mhm.
because of the way our money comes in, right? We are forced basically to reappropriate over the years, right? There's an email that goes back maybe 2 years in which there was some questioning as to overspending in the line item. Office of Budget and Management in the email clearly states, I'm watching it. They're not over what's in the bank. The line items are always out of whack because of the way our funds come in, right? Particularly along the red light cameras. Any of this sound familiar? I see there's that head nod, right? So you guys have these answers and have had the answers. I remember the administration up in the office laughing and kind of disgusted, like, hey man, they keep asking the same questions year over year. Should they know these answers? One of them said, certainly, you know the answers. You were on the fiscal commission when this was brought up. And that's why we reappropriate later in the year to then balance off some of the line items that's spending. And you remember, she would come and say, okay, you're a quarter into the year. We should be at a quarter expense. But of course, we're still waiting on the monies to come in, not just red light, but the county, right? They front load some, and then at the end of the year, we reappropriate 1 or 2 times to then balance the book, get everything in line. That's why we do that. Please tell me. Please.
That's not what I'm looking for.
You
Brandon
just said
King.
overspending in the line item.
That is not a department head telling me what's going on in the department.
So what's going on in the department?
That's
is
not- that's
work
a
that
totally
they've been
different-
doing every.
Brandon King, understand something. I ran a department at the county for excessive years. And not 1 year did that county, you can't, right now, if you pull the county's budget, they not overspent. You better not overspend your budget at the county, because guess what's gonna happen? The next year, you're gonna get a deduction of that amount of money. So what you're saying to me would be okay if I did not have that experience, but because of that experience, and because I know that it is an audit finding when you're in excess of your allotted amount of money, and we should stop getting, my purpose is so that we stop getting these audit findings. That's the bottom line.
I think what
Councilor
maybe
Stevenson.
the sticking point is that when you ran the count, you ran a budget like that, that's had a bank account. We are in fiscal
The money
emergency.
came in the same way.
We are in fiscal emergency. There's no excess fund, right? And let me also say this, right? While the council president has his hand on his hip. Remember how we couldn't reappropriate? Remember how we couldn't even pass the budget? Remember how somebody took the budget and cut it in a ridiculous fashion, right? Not claiming they
That ain't got
understand
nothing,
finance.
that has
It
nothing
does,
to
because
do
when
with
you
what's
ask-
going
when
on
you
in
ask
these
about an
departments this
When you ask
year.
about
I'm
audit
asking
findings,
about 2022.
audit
Why are you
findings
going
happens on the
backwards?
previous year. You don't do an audit finding on 2022.
You got audit findings going back for 4 or 5
That's what I'm
years.
trying to tell you.
And that's what I'm
And
trying
that's
to
what
clear
you're
up.
asking,
That's what I'm
right?
trying to
So
clear up.
I'm saying the audit finding you're looking at is a direct result of that council not wanting to address reappropriation, not even wanting to pass the permanent appropriation. Come on, man.
The
Come on.
budget,
Come
no,
on.
no.
That's how
no.
you get an audit finding.
The audit findings, sir, go back at least 5 years.
Come on.
I've only been here 2.5 years.
So the
So
41.
for 5 years,
Yes.
you have had all of these same audit findings.
Yes.
Now, at this time, because somebody wanted to change your budget because it was not workable,
That's why.
that is the cause?
That is last year.
Please
Before that,
recognize.
we
You
didn't have
don't,
any money,
okay, hold on.
right?
you-
Before that, we didn't have any money. Before
Yes,
that,
you
we
did. You
came
had
into
money. Yes, you
fiscal
did. You had money.
emergency. But what we did, when
You
I
had
took
money.
office, we had 2.5 in debt, 2.5 in deficit. We were in 5 million upside down when I took office, right? I remember the fiscal commission, right, elated by the time I had a positive bank balance. It was like 300,000, I think it was. I don't think you were on council
No,
then.
I was.
But we had to dig ourselves out of this. The reason that happens, right, in the line item is because we don't have the money, right? And we'll go over in this line item, and then we have to come back and reappropriate. We have to put in the camera money. We have to put in new money.
But you do
and
it every
balance.
6 months. You don't do it in December. You do it in June to cover the balance that you're going to have for the 6 months.
Thank you. Yes.
This
let's
is
do that.
June.
Let's do that.
Where are they?
We just did it.
No, where are they?
But you guys just reappropriated.
We didn't reappropriate anything that has anything to do with the question that I'm asking. We reappropriated something that you wanted done. That had nothing to do with these people overspending their budget.
He straightened out those line items. He straightened them out.
That's not what we were told, Brandon King, when we asked him about that. We
Let
we're not
me
told
go
that.
look at it because I don't have it in
We
front of me.
weren't told that. And
Let
we
me go
don't
look
have
at
it
it.
either. So how are we
Yeah.
supposed to know?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Let's go look at it.
Counselor.
the mayor seems to be confusing the process of changing an appropriation, which is an action of council, which we can do or not do as we see appropriate, and between having the administration spending money that is not appropriated, which is a different process entirely. That is the administration deciding that regardless of what the council appropriated, they're going to spend the money anyway. And the concern that the auditors expressed to the legislature is that the administration has been spending money that has not been appropriated. That's different. We understand you get a little money from the red light cameras, you can add to somebody's budget. That's fine. But if you look at the monthly financial reports, which are generally very late, for example, it's now June and we do not have the April report yet. But if you look at it, at the end of every section, there's either a little exclamation point or an X or a check mark, basically oversimplifying this department, this part of their appropriation, they're on target. This part, they're overspending. This part, they haven't spent their whole appropriation. And it's that kind of thing, and going through those lines and saying, okay, why is this department spending more than it has appropriated? Why is this one doing fine? Why is this one still have money? Some things are seasonal, okay, and you can expect that they will be different in the winter than in the summer, whatever. But what Councilor Stevenson has requested is to go over those things and to see why some have overspent and what is going on in those departments. And that is why we need our finance director here to go over the details. We also need to have those reports in a timely manner, and we do not.
Are there any other questions, comments?
Council President, Council, you, and I can appreciate not, I don't know what kind of background you have, but I understand that it's something in medical, this is finance. So when you look at.
That means I've
spending-
studied
if you- if you let me
statistics.
finish, let me finish,
That means
please.
I started
Just let me
college
finish.
thinking I was going to be a
Can I-
math
can I-
major on the
Can I
basis
finish
of
my
my
statement, please? Can I finish without
outstanding
being interrupted?
math.
I mean, there's no point being rude. Let me finish, right? And then you can talk. No problem. So
You can be
when you
rude
talk
first.
about appropriation, right? Most municipalities will send you a budget that is so generic that it allows for spending to happen within a set amount of money. And then they capture what it was spent on, right? Now ours, because I don't know who it was, what finance director went in and they started really putting these line items, that's when it gets a little tricky. So when you look at let's say a department and a line item, right? Let's say cars blew up, the police car, right? We had to get new police cars. So they'll be over in the line item for police vehicles, but the overall police budget won't be over, or the overall budget won't be over. So even though the line items may be, right, and true, if you look at it per line item, you may have spent money that hasn't been appropriated for that line item, but that money is appropriated in the budget, right? Look at other cities, and I'll be more than happy to bring you a couple where they pass the annual appropriations. They're not as detailed as ours, and they do it for a reason because of this. There's really hard to stick to specific line items. You said we're gonna do these 10 things, and then COVID happened, right? Or something
You got
major
paid
happened.
for COVID.
Pardon me?
So you got paid for COVID, no impact.
No, I'm talking about the line items, and then you have to stick to these particular lines, but then something happens that forces you to spend money in different areas that you hadn't anticipated. You would then be spending money that wasn't appropriated for what you're spending it for. Yet the money had been appropriated because it's in the budget.
Okay, well, let me ask you this question. The council is getting ready to go on vacation. Every year when this council goes on vacation, money is expended out of the budget without the council's approval. Is that gonna happen this year? Or are you going to bring forward all of your needs prior to the council's vacation during the month of June?
So what we'll do, right, is when council gets back, I'm gonna try to get a reappropriation in front to then balance off some of these line items, right? But we're going to keep running the government. I can't tell Ms. Jones that we're not gonna cut the grass next door.
I'm not asking you to
Right.
tell Ms. Jones that.
So what I'm saying is, we're gonna keep operating within the past appropriation that was passed by council, that total amount. Some of the line items, they wind up,
What is the total amount? We don't know.
I don't have it in front of me. It's in the document that you passed,
I didn't pass the document, sir. As a matter of fact,
but the document.
is there
came
any
to
other
you.
questions? Are there any other questions in this meeting? Yes. Anything? Come on, let's go. Let's bring it. Okay,
So let me just make it clear that I'm standing here as a resident. That's not a.
So then the residents are normally start their presentation with a name and address.
I'm making it. I can.
No, you start with your name and your address. That's the way a resident starts.
You don't actually have to give your address for safety reasons. We went over that a couple times.
My name is Stacy. I've been observing the operation of
that doesn't work.
Individual.
for about 6 months consistently. I've been observing quietly and taking good notes, and I just want to say at this point, you are wasting my time. You're wasting my time. These behaviors are displays of intellectual immaturity. The information that you all request from the administration is always a matter of record. It's readily available on the city's website, the state's public information store, as well as you consistently share misinformation, purposely mislead with circular logic. Your statements are poorly constructed and consistently assert facts, not evidence. You don't display even basic knowledge of municipal finance, organizational management and cash flow, or even a basic balance. You are preying on the assumed ignorance of East Cleveland voters, and as a voter, I find tremendously insulting. So I would refer you to the sources of information I have just cited. You may answer every question plus more. Every question you've asked tonight can be answered on information, using information readily available, information that is a matter of. And if you don't do better with your research and demonstrate your critical thinking skills, I will continue to feel like you are wasting my time and insulting my intelligence. Thank you.
Anybody else? Come on up,
I had to clap, sorry.
because I agree with her. I'm tired of wasting my time too. Go ahead, ma'am.
Evening, council. I first wanted to ask if someone could follow up with me Chief-
No, that doesn't-
Oh,
just raise your voice,
okay.
really. You can step down just a little bit and don't, yeah, the speaker's on the. Mayor's gonna have somebody show me how to use it.
with the chief of police, after speaking with Sue, who works at Dollar General, probably about 2 months ago, the mayor made a comment about he doesn't consider shoplifting from Dollar General a crime. They
That's not
are-
true. I can't say that you lied it like that. I
I
never
lied.
said that. I never said it wasn't a crime.
Watch the
And
video.
she just said that misinformation,
You cut him
Crane,
off, man.
I had to because you just lied on.
No,
I never said I don't consider it a crime.
You said that. Watch
I
the
did
video.
not say that it's considered a crime.
Watch the
If you
video,
stole something, of course that's a crime. I don't want any more
Watch
lies.
the video. It's on the video anyway. So what I wanted to ask was if the chief of police could write a letter to the store manager, I have it right down here, Beverly Hatfield. That would increase their chances of having security personnel at that store. Because after speaking with Sue, they're like shoplifting in there every other day. If they have some kind of security personnel there. What store? Dollar
Dollar
General
General.
on Euclid Avenue and
Right
Ready
down the
Road.
street.
No, that's Ward 2. That's one of the, yeah.
Okay.
So then we don't have to send police there every other day because of all the shoplifters, shoplifting and theft. So that would cut down on, our police doing other things instead of going to Dollar General. They're there like every other day.
So they won't hire security, is what you're
So they
saying?
will hire a security person. We need a letter from our police chief stating
Okay.
if they will hire a security person there to, deter shoplifting and theft. It'll cut down on the crime and we don't have to send, police there all the time. And I do want to add that she had a very good rapport with East Cleveland Police. She said they always respond right away.
You talking
And
about Beverly Hatfield? Is that who you talking about?
yes, Beverly Hatfield,
Hatfield.
yes, store manager.
Right.
The address is 13741 Euclid Avenue. And secondly, I did a crime statistics report with East Cleveland and South Euclid. Cleveland Heights doesn't do their crime statistics until a year later. So I asked from January 1st, 2022 to May 4th of 2022. And they don't do January until January of 2023. I don't know why, but that's what she said. Anyway, it's very close in crime, just to be perfectly honest. And my adjusted numbers, because they throw everything together. So the adjusted number for East Cleveland comes down from 9,316 to 3,271 crimes. And then for South Euclid, and they were a little extended. They actually went to May 16th instead of May 4th. And their total number was 10,754. And the adjusted crimes were 2,125. And what I did was I deducted like business checks. That's not a crime, small procedural duties. So those were deleted. Also, I wanted to ask, that a plan, a safety plan for the city of East Cleveland. I've asked it a few times already. And I'm just hoping that either someone can tell me that someone is working on it, or if they can give me a target date as to when it will be worked on or completed.
Okay, because I was waiting for a response. The first two times you left the meeting. And then the third time, Willa Hemming responded and she really didn't give any answer. So maybe you want to put that on your to-do list or follow up, maybe send somebody in council. Start the date for safety plan.
Well, the chairperson is here for the safety committee.
Oh.
Well,
Mr.
we're gonna
Martin.
have a meeting, I don't know what the summer. I may, but I'm gonna have a meeting with the lead chief and everybody, and that will be on the agenda. Do they have a safety? Okay. Make a note of that.
There's actually people who are involved in real estate investing and development call, and they want to know that the city was safe. When they call City Hall, they were told people don't do that. They don't do safety plans. But when you call Cleveland, they have a 1-year plan, they have a 5-year plan, they have a 10-year plan. So I told them when I come to the meeting, I would ask them on repeatedly and asking the same question. So somebody can. Also, I was looking for transparency with regard to the ARP money. I remember when Mayor King was doing this debate, and I wasn't the only person who was asking for transparency, but I think it's good to know what the money has been spent. Is it possible to get a council?
The only report that we have is on the website, which is March. We don't have a report, we don't have the expense reports.
Okay.
But the expense reports aren't on the website. So only the master, the monthly, is on the website. Any other, is that all?
Yep, that's it.
Are there any other
Thank you, thank you.
questions? Anybody online with questions?
Good evening, Council. Kelvin Irby, 14802 Elm. I have a question. I'm looking at a street estimate, no, the street cost for paving. Elm Street was quoted at 165K thousand. And it's an incomplete job. When will that job ever be completed? Due to the fact that the end that's not paved is coming apart badly. Lockwood was quoted 146K. Very bad job. Shaw was quoted at 240,000 and it's coming back apart. Claiborne, 78,000. When is that one going to be completed? This is money that we've been crying about, and the jobs are not done. And looking at the city's street cost analysis of what it will cost and what the dates were, I do believe that the street repair funds need to be looked at a little bit more closer, and our money needs to come back to the city for jobs not completed. Anybody want to answer that one?
I can respond to some of that. I've tried every month to have all of the relevant people at the General Service and Administration Committee meetings, and that has not happened. However, at the last meeting, and that's excluding the last meeting that didn't happen because it was community meeting because we didn't have a quorum. But I don't have all the numbers in front of me because this isn't that meeting, but Keisha Chambers said that the funding was approved and they would be doing work on the water infrastructure and the resurfacing on Shaw. They had requested funds for Hayden and had missed getting enough points to have that done. But they're also looking at that in the context of both the water infrastructure and the street resurfacing. Lockwood was not on that particular list, so it wasn't discussed at that particular time. Still, as I said, I have been trying to get all of the people in the room at the same time to discuss budgets. I know one of my concerns had been the bus pads, and there has been some improvement in bus pads. But if you were, for example, to drive from Elsinore to City Hall, you would drive over one of the worst bus pads, which is the one on Euclid, just to the west, on the south side of the street, and just to the west of the City Hall. And there's not any apparent improvement in that one. And there are a number of bus pads that do not seem to have had any work done on them at all. So this has been a frequent topic of conversation. So I understand that I didn't answer all your questions because A, I don't have the answers to all of your questions. And some of it I tried to obtain. And I find that the administration is very fond of withholding information and then criticizing you for not knowing it.
Councilor, if I could speak. I'm looking at a payout scale of these streets were completed. These streets are not completed. At $165,000 for a street, and it's not complete. That's not the question was asked. Not talking about concrete bus pavers. That's a whole different day. We're talking about work that has been done that is not complete. Elm is not complete from Shawview to Coit. North Lockwood at 146K, that's money already spent, is not complete. Shaw, that means $240,000 went on the ground and it's now coming back apart.
Right.
So
And
when the
that
next,
is why I have frequently asked for an evaluation that relates to what are the reasons why we might have to do water infrastructure work, having recently allegedly repaired some of these streets, and to have a comprehensive discussion, but the administration doesn't provide that.
we're still not talking about the street completion. That you're looking for an answer for water work project. This is not water work
No,
project.
that's not what I'm doing. What I want is a comprehensive discussion that includes potholes, resurfacing, what's been done and hasn't been done, and what needs to be done. And yes, that would include what you're talking about, but no, I have not gotten those answers.
Still, I'm saying one more time for the people that's not understanding. How can you let a street incomplete go unfinished? Money has been spent already to finish a job and it's not done. And then on this piece of paper that was printed 2016, we're now in 2022. You tell me that it's still gonna sit on your chest and says $165,000 was spent and not completed. Where's the math in that one? Who did the work?
Mr. Irby,
Yes, Counselor.
I would like to direct you to the finance director because he is not here, Councilor Blahoviak does not have those answers. And if that is something from 2016, I can't help you with it either. So you
So-
need to talk to the finance director because I don't know what was expended and what happened then. I can't address that and he's not here.
All right.
So because you're in my ward, if you need some help addressing it, I'll help you if I can. I'll help you get to him if I can. That said, there. That said, I'm going to prepare to close this meeting. And I'd like to thank you all in advance for coming. I would like to close this meeting with a statement. I've asked for questions for 20 minutes.
I thought I was talking about closing remarks.
We just did that from the people.
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted to be a.
Do you have something to say?
I have a couple things.
Okay, can we move that along?
Absolutely. So, I'd like to go back to the conversation. Go back to the further to the property and contract. Back to the property and contract a few weeks ago, in which the county land bank came out, brought the CEO, a couple other members, Dennis Roberts and Dustin, in a great presentation. We did leave us with some documents. They requested $4 million. At that meeting, the chair of property and contracts, Councilor Juanita Dowd, did state that she would sponsor the legislation. Council President did state at that meeting that legislation would be at the next regular council meeting as 2 weeks, right? Understanding that it was 3 weeks out, any questions or further discussion needed would be had. Now, understand that that meeting was not Zoomed and it was not taped, and that none of the clerks were here. So when we sent it down to council, I'm not sure what this mishap should have been. Council Stevens, I heard you say earlier that you didn't request it. I asked Willa to send it down and specifically state that Councilor Gowdy was sponsored because she said she would at that meeting. Council President, praying to remember this, right? They were here, but none of your clerks were. So that's how their name got on it. I guess they just put it in the finance, but Councilor Gowdy did say she would sponsor.
Well, we addressed that at the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah, I just wanted to, you didn't ask me anything about it, so I just wanted to make sure I made mention of it in the closing remarks. I don't know if there's anything else that you want me to state, you want me to talk about. I could spend 60 seconds on road resurfacing, something that I've talked about before, right? I talked to Mr. Irving, right? Road resurfacing with our limited funds that come out of CDBG, right? We had gotten a place where we were doing pieces of parks of streets. So he mentioned Claiborne. If you go from Hayden and Claiborne to Connector and Claiborne, it is still fine. That is what that money had been spent on. What I would ask the gentleman on the phone, I believe it's Kelvin Irby, I would ask him to look at that document. Hopefully it states a square foot or a unit of measure that that money paid for. So when he talks about something being completed, and I've talked to him about this before, it's mind-boggling. He will remember that that particular street, Elm, was done 3 times over the course of 3 years. We did about 10 houses, and we came back and we did about 10 houses, right? As funds would allow. Remember, we got 177 streets. Everyone
Okay, I
needs
don't,
quality of life
I
addressing.
don't want to spend my meeting on roads.
Okay, I just wanted you to know
That's what I wanted to
that that money he was saying was not for the entire
do. Like
street.
I
It's a
told
square
him, I
foot.
don't have the answer for that.
I just gave you the answer. It's a
Okay.
square foot that money represents. And if you had any other
So are we,
questions,
is that it? Is that
that's it. I wanted to clear that up so that everybody was comfortable on what that money was spent on.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Why y'all looking at me? I'm gonna close this meeting, okay? I'm not staying here all night. So this is what I need to focus on as we approach the end of the first 6 months of the year. Good evening. It is the intent of the chair of this finance committee that the following be entered into the official record and minutes of the City of East Cleveland Finance Committee meeting on 6/2/22. As of this, only the second finance committee meeting of the year, there's much to do and much to be stated. Meetings scheduled for finance committee in December 2021, January, February, March, and April 2022 were all removed from my committee. The first meeting of the finance committee was not held until May 2022. During that time, resolutions requiring council's attention on finances were removed from the finance committee without proper authority. To date, the required documentation necessary to remove anything from a committee of a councilor has not been produced. As a result, it is clear that this council is failing on several aspects of its operation. Operations of the administration that are supposed to be overseen by the council. Unfortunately, situations currently exist within the council that are conflicting in regard to council responsibility, confusing, and do not delineate clear lines of separation of the council from the administration and judicial branches of government. This places the separation branch of government, the council, in a situation where it is incapable and lacking the ability to govern itself and current administration or anything else, including the business of this city. In July, the council goes on vacation for several months with a few designated meetings. I cannot express enough to you my concern over how important the unification of the council could mean to this community. I cannot, as chair of the finance committee, continue without bringing to your attention the mismanagement of funds, expending of unappropriated funds, and our year after year continuance of audit findings against the city's mismanagement of funds, the state of the civic center, city hall, the fire stations 1 and 2, a dysfunctional bathroom, and a fire department budget that looks like a depression document from the turn of the century. Our legislature is being advised of our inability to perform. The state auditor has advised us of how to proceed, yet nothing has happened, and I question why. What is the important and why our focus should be on resolving these issues collectively in a manner where they do not rear their ugly head again? For far too long, too few have had too much, and the masses have had too little, while still suffering and going without in this very city that we, the council, were sworn to serve and protect. We can talk about the administration that is supposed to report to us usurping our authority. Well, we're only talking about ourselves and letting our authority be usurped. Our inability to collectively manage, to collectively stand as one and stand up for what is right, to take the appropriate action to serve the public and to be a good steward of the taxpayers' dollars is where our actions are being televised. As we sit here today, the mayor has ordered the staff of the city be paid if they can prove they have taken their COVID shots. It was not told to me. It was told to me that many years ago, the council gave up its authority over the finance department. And today we reap what is vengeance for that action. When and why did the council approve any event that would reduce its footprint in the landscape of the city? Where's the resolution or ordinance that gives the mayor authority to do without council approval? At last estimate, there were approximately 125 employees in the city, and each will receive $1,000, equaling $125,000. How do payoffs to the city employees that were not approved by the council affect the budget and the city's ability to manage the funds under its control? How many streets could be repaired if these funds had for the third year in a row were placed into the budget for street repair? Counselors, what I see is not what the forefathers of this city intended when they wrote the charter. When they put in place the fundamentals and strategies documented in the charter to keep us safe from harm and the clutches of fiscal emergency. Council, I request that you seek your collective strength and seek alternatives to the conflicts and those actions that have over the years divided the decision-making and functions of this council in a manner that is unhealthy for the city of East Cleveland and its residents. Understand that this is our legacy, yours and mine. This is where we make and leave our mark on society, on the city of East Cleveland, the state of Ohio, and the world. Individual wants are not what we were sworn to uphold. We were sworn to be honest, respectful, and to do the right thing for the city and the residents of East Cleveland. I'm waiting. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.
The time is 7:31. No, you're not. No, you're not allowed. Oh, sure, just leave us.